Hi everyone, my name is Zsolt Nagy. It's a great pleasure to be here at OSTEM On Demand webinar. This is a great opportunity for me and I hope for everyone to get some professional knowledge, and I'd like to share my experiences about what I do every day. I'm a dentist from Hungary, Budapest. This is the place where I was born and raised, and this is the place where I work every day. We have a private clinic together with my brother. This is called Differenta Clinic. This is in the heart of Budapest, and as long as he's an oral surgeon and periodontologist, he's doing a lot of implantation. And myself, I'm doing some rehabilitation works on the field of restorative dentistry and prosthodontics, mainly focusing on digital workflow. So when I finished my university studies and starting to do specialization, that was the first time when I had the chance to work with digital tools. At that time it was a CEREC machine, and I immediately fall in love with digital technology. So since then I did my best to upgrade my knowledge and to get all the equipment I need for my everyday work. And I try to cooperate with my brother and to do everything together what we can. I also made some university teaching for about 15 years at Semmelweis University Budapest, where I was a lecturer and I held courses for Hungarian and foreign students as well. So I hope you're going to enjoy today's presentation from me. First, I made a small video, completely AI driven video. This is something new I like to introduce. Then I'm gonna show a nice case I did together with my team. Please enjoy.
What makes us a digital dentist? Being a digital dentist means embracing innovation and efficiency. We're committed to staying ahead of the curve and constantly improving our digital capabilities. Buying expensive digital tools and equipment is only part of the equation to truly be a digital dentist. It's about using these tools in innovative ways to improve patient care and streamline workflows. It's about having a digital-first mindset, constantly adapting to new technologies and techniques at our practice. Or we don't just invest in the latest gadgets, we invest in the future of digital dentistry. You have to believe that your workflows are what truly make you a digital dentist. By constantly refining and improving your digital processes, you're able to provide more accurate and more comfortable dental care for your patients.
Okay, so I think the key message of this video was that using digital tools and equipment is only a small part of the point. Most importantly, we have to improve our workflows, because digital workflows are a lot different than analogs, and there are a lot of advantages in it. And we need to use them. We need to be first in the line to adopt them for us and to help us and to get some aid from it. So today I want to show you a nice workflow we did together with my brother, who was the implant and gingival surgery doctor to make the process for. And I want to introduce you Laurent Stumpf. He's our dental technician responsible for the digital designs. So he's a dental designer, a CAD designer, and whenever we are having a challenge ahead of us, we involve him into the workflow, and he's responsible for the nice designs. So we all work together in this part. Let me introduce our patient today. Her name is Leticia, and Leticia just arrived to us with a problem, with an aesthetic problem at her smile. So she was unhappy with it, of course. Her teeth were crooked and discolored, and she had an uneven smile, and she wanted to change it. She wanted something more natural, something a little whiter, So she wanted to look nicer. She was dissatisfied, of course. So whenever I have patients of the cases like her, I need to get proper planning. So first of all, I make portrait pictures of my patients and try to make some primer analysis of the face. This is important because we can see a lot of things from out of it. First of all, let's check the symmetry of the face, which is quite okay. So it's a good starting point. We get the middle line. There's no shift in it, especially in the upper one. This is nice. This is a good starting point. And we can have a look at the smile curves. We can see some problems here because her teeth are uneven. So there's a lot to be changed here. And we can see the gum line as well. We can see a problem there as well. She's having a gummy smile, and this is also something we need to change. She didn't like it at all. So these are just some starting points to get some thoughts about the further plan. So after that, I can make some close-up pictures and take a deeper look at the macro structures. And what I was able to see here is this part. There's some sort of inflammation going on underneath, and this is a fistula. This is a fistula. And in order to recognize the origin of this problem, I get a small gutta-percha point, placed it into this hole, this fistula hole, and made an intraoral x-ray. And what we can see here immediately on the x-ray picture is an external resorption of the root. This is a root canal treated tooth from a long time ago. It was discolored, same way as the other incisor. And, this is some sort of problem that cannot be treated conservatively. So in our treatment plan, it is unable to keep this tooth. So, of course, in the treatment plan, we need to replace it with something, and it's going to be an implantation this time. But before proceeding to any surgery part, we need a good plan. We need a nice treatment plan. And for that, we need some more information. In these cases, I make the intraoral scan of the patient, which is really needed to get all the designs from Laurent, the designer technician. So when the intraoral scan is done, I send all these information, this data to him, and try to explain to him what we are looking for. And first of all, he's doing a nice design for the patient, an aesthetic design, which is always starting with a 2D smile design. First of all, he's looking for a nice library shape, tooth library shape, which matches the face. Which is like, self-valid. So the main point here is to get the nice proportions. When we place it to the face, of course, we can do some nice tricks, which is nothing more than some Photoshop, but we can have an imagination of the future outcome. We don't really show it to the patients anymore. It's only for us to get an inception of this, but the key point is not this. This is only good for getting the nice proportions of the teeth, to finding the matching library. The key point will be the 3D design. So the 3D design, most of the programs can be done within. So this time it was an ExoCAD. We are selecting the libraries and adopting it for a 3D smile design, and we can make some analysis out of it. So This is the initial model, 3D model of the patient with the matching library. So it's like a digital wax up. And we can have some analysis here as well. So if we just make it a little bit transparent, we can measure here. We can measure the problems for even measuring the gummy smile that need to be removed. It is a nice opportunity to check up much better than the patient's mouth, because we have more time, we have more options to get the deeper details in it. So when the design is done by Laurent, he's making a version out of it called a removable mock-up version. So he's transforming it to a piece that can be 3D printed directly. This is very important, because if we receive this file from him and we make a 3D printing volume out of it, made of a nice tooth shade resin, we can use it as a mock-up. We can just a little bit stain it with glaze, and right after we can place it inside the patient's mouth. So it's a directly 3D printed removable mock-up without doing any sort of preparation inside the patient's mouth. It can be placed on top, and we can see the expected aesthetic outcome of our treatment. So this is very important again, that we are not having our final plan. We are looking for the shapes only at this step, and we are making a trial smile. We place it inside the mouth and take a look how our plan is working inside the mouth, and most importantly, how does the patient like it? What about her thoughts? Is it something that she was looking for? Is it equal to the thing that we want to achieve? And fortunately, her replies were pretty similar than ours. We were quite satisfied with this version. Maybe a little bit shortening of the incisors from the apical part, so make them a little bit shorter at the apical part. So this is something that can be easily corrugated at the digital plans. Okay, so whenever the aesthetic plan is verified, and we thought that, okay, this is something that we want to do, then we stick to these shapes, and this is gonna guide our whole process from the beginning till the end. Next step was to make some surgical plans, because this tooth, as I mentioned, had to be extracted. There was an external resorption on the root, so we had to replace it. But for the time of the surgery, we want to get prepared. We want to have a nice surgical plan, and we wanted to do immediate implantation. My brother Pal was responsible for doing the surgery. So what we did at the planning stage was that we removed this tooth digitally, so we erased it from the model, and get the other incisor shape mirrored. So we got the same shape but mirrored, made a mirror copy, and made a wax up with it. Okay, so we wanted to have very similar shapes, to get symmetrical shapes, and place it on top of the extracted wound, because this is something that is gonna act like a temporary. It is a same time, same day implantation process. We wanted to do some immediate temporary crown on top with temporary abutment, and that's why we needed this wax up. Okay, next step was of course with the CBCT planning and selecting the implant type we placed. And this time it was an Ostem TS4 regular implant. This was ideally positioned at the CBCT using the wax up, so it's a completely prosthetic driven planning, or the so-called backward planning. that is a must-have at these cases. So whenever everything was planned, it was, let's say, a temporary abutment that we planned here with a temporary crown and the final implant position. And we did one more thing. We made a gingival guide as well, because the gingival guide is needed for the surgery, for the gingival surgery, to get the gum line corrected. As there was an uneven gingival curve for the nice aesthetic outcome, this is also mandatory to do, otherwise it's not going to look good as well. So we planned this guide, and we were ready for the surgery part. Of course, everything gets started with the implantation process, and as I told you, this was a completely planned and guided process. So we had an implant guide placed on the adjacent teeth with the navigation hole inside, and we made the temporary abutment and a PMMA crown on the top. So these were all prefabricated, and when the implantation got started, we had everything in our hands. So implant was, so extraction was done, and implant was placed with the guide with some bone grafting and connective tissue graft. And when everything was finalized, then this connective tissue graft was fixed with sutures. Well, we were quite sure about the retraction of this flap. The question was the quantity, like how much it's going to be retracted. And this was the main reason why we chose not to put the final abutment immediately inside. That's why we looked for the temporary abutment. And you can see the picture right after the healing period of the implant. You can see how much it retracted, and this was the reason why we didn't look for the final abutment immediately. So when everything was nicely healed, it was time for the corrective gingival surgery. So in these cases, we proceed a flapless surgery method. This is originally Paolo Cano's procedure, where we use a small surgical blade to just remove the gum. Just the unnecessary part is going to cut off. We use this guide for, and then we use an ultrasonic diamond to put into the gingival sulcus and get an additional bone correction, keeping the biological width, which is also very important because this is the only way then it's going to be stable and it's going to be healed. And as long as this is flapless surgery, the healing period is much shorter. So we love this method and we follow it whenever we can. So right after the healing time, which is only about a week after the healing surgery, we can see that tissues are in a good condition, and we are getting ready for doing the final prosthetics. So what you can see here is an abutment on the implant needs to be changed with a temporary crown, this discolored incisor, this uneven teeth with different length and colors. So that's why we had our original aesthetic planning to keep it. So I removed this crown, made an intraoral scan of this stage, and I sent it to Laurent, our designer, to get a final adaptation of the shapes, of the original shapes that were selected for her smile. So there was one more information at this point, what we need to decide, and this is the material for the final prosthetics. And this time we moved for monolithic solution, and this is a special zirconia from Ivoclar. This is the Circuit Prime Esthetic material, which I really love so much. It is important for me to use monolithic materials. I'm not doing veneered restorations anymore. No type at all, only monolithic, only stain and glaze procedures, because this is the true switch for me to create the completely same prosthetic outcome than the digital plan. If there's any handmade surface on top, the shape is going to be different. Maybe a little less or a little more, that doesn't matter for me. I want to do completely the same as the plan, and the only way for this is to using monolithic materials, which is grinded by a CAD/CAM machine and only stained and glazed by hand. So no additional veneering on top, because that changes the shape. So this is important to get the material, because we need to know the preparation depth. How deep should we prepare the teeth in order to stay safe and make nice restorations? Okay, so Laurent receives all the files I sent to him. He got the original plans and makes some adaptation for the preparation. The first file he makes is an invasive mock-up. As you can see, he finalizes the position of these teeth. And as you can see, this is invasive because some places of her original tooth structures are just coming out of the ideal shape line, and these are the ones that I need to remove at the beginning of the preparation. The other file he makes is the so-called final wax up, which is like the shape, the final shape that the aesthetic outcome should look like. And this is the one I can use for making a temporary for the patient at the end of the preparation. And he also makes me a preparation guide, which is good for 3D printing and placing it inside the mouth to double check myself. So whenever I place it inside the mouth, I can see whether I prepared enough of each individual teeth or some additional correction should be made. This is very useful. I don't need to be manually the best dentist in the world, because I have the guide and I can double check where any correction is needed. It makes the procedure safe for me. All right. So when I'm done with the final prep, I place the retraction cords all around and I place the scan body, implant scan body, into the implant surface. As I told you, we make a new abutment, a final abutment. So this scan body goes for the connection on implant level. All right. But of course, this is not enough. This information is not enough at this moment. We need the shape of the emergence profile, because with the temporary abutment, we created a special emergence profile, and we need to keep it. We should keep it because it's a nice shape, and we want to keep the gingival level of this restoration. And in order to achieve that, we need to copy this emergence profile shape. So what Weekend did were two things, but I recommend to use only the second part. The first option is when we remove the temporary abutment, you can do immediately a scan, an intraoral scan of the emergence profile just to keep the shape, but this is not 100% perfect, because there's a little collapse immediately right after we remove the abutment. The better way is to get the temporary abutment, hold it with a forceps, for example, and use our intraoral scanner and make a scan out of it, because this is the shape that is perfectly similar to the one we want to keep. it is the better version, and send it to the dental technician, because they can copy it. They can make the final abutment the same shape very much. So I recommend to go this way with it. And there's one more information needed here, and that is the tooth shade we want to achieve. And sometimes when it comes to monolithic thin restorations, it is good to check the die shade as well. These informations can be put to a nice software. You can download it to your phone. It's the Shade Navigation app. The Shade Navigation app helps you a lot. You feed some information to the software, and it gives you the final material code that you can achieve your desired tooth color outcome. It's a free software, by the way, for both iOS or Android platforms. You can download it anytime. It helped me a lot. So it's pretty easy, because you can help your dental technician what material to choose to get the nicest tooth shade option for you. Okay, so we receive the final restorations ready for fixation and cementation. What you can see here, as I told you, is a completely monolithic zirconia material from Aesthetic Prime material. This is only stain and glaze. Look at the translucency. It's a beautiful material, beautiful. Nice textures, could be paint on top. And this is something that is really looking amazing inside the oral cavity. And as I told you, all the prosthetics were made of this material. So not only the implant, all the teeth, and I love to cement it adhesively. And yes, this is always a question. Can we truly cement zirconia adhesively? The answer is yes. We can, but there's a special surface treatment protocol for zirconia. And let me share it with you, because it's a nice tip from me. I follow it every time, and it works amazingly well. So this is quite strange. You need a sandblaster, a manual sandblaster for you, and there's a special operator unit where you can adjust the bar value, like how strong can the sandblaster work. And you have two options. You need to use aluminum oxide, about 50 micron range or about 100 micron range, and adjust the bar to 1 bar if it's about 50 micron, and 1.5 if you use bigger particles like around 100 micron aluminum oxide. Yes, these values, 1 or 1.5, is a very small value. But at the same time, this is the only way that you can make the sintered zirconia surface ready for adhesive connection. This is the only way. If you use higher values, it's not gonna work. Okay, all the dental technicians are looking to me like I'm crazy or something, but no, this is the official measurements made by Ivoclar, and they recommend it for all the zirconia materials they use, and yes, it works well. So please be advised to follow it, and you're gonna get success, I'm pretty sure. The other step that needs to be done is to figure out what sort of material you're using for cementation. Of course, it needs to be a resin cement. It can be a cement that does not contain MDP primer, because in those cases you need to cover the intaglio surface with Monobond Plus containing this MDP primer, and then you can use the cement, the resin cement you want. Or the other option is to choose a cement which contains the MDP primer, and then you don't need to cover the intaglio with anything else, only this cement is enough. It's absolutely your choice. Maybe if you want to switch the color, you need to choose a special cement and use Monobond Plus, or if the natural color is okay for you, then or standard colors are good for you, then it's easier to use the cement containing MDP. All right, so let's take a look about our final outcome. So this was the initial situation, and this is how it's looking like right now after 4 weeks of cementation. So I think this is much more natural. She can be much more happy with it, and I think we can be satisfied. And let's see her face. So this was the initial situation, how she looked like, and this is the picture after transformation. So her smile is much more even. She's much more happy and satisfied. She even had a whitening on the lower teeth. So her smile is like more ideal than it was before, and our team is also very happy to achieve this result. All right, so let me just briefly summarize the benefits of this workflow we were using. First of all, we were predictable. We know what we wanted to achieve. We had a plan in advance. We followed the plan. And as long as we were using digital tools, we know what the goal was. And we just followed the guidelines. We just followed the protocol. So this is predictable. We got an increased accuracy. Well, yes, of course, as long as digital tools are more accurate than analog traditional things, accuracy can be increased. Only important thing is you should know how to use them. Whenever you know it, you can get the benefit out of it. The process was faster. Well, of course, because there were much less trials. We don't need to spend too much chair time with each session. So all the process were faster, and this is a benefit also for the patient, of course. And finally, so last but not least, the patient was very satisfied because we showed to her at the beginning what we wanted to achieve. We just went through the process and we created what we guaranteed. So patient was very satisfied and happy at the end. So these are all the key benefits I wanted to share with you. And I try to advise you to do your best and try to follow this procedure, because this is repeatable. Okay, this is no magic. You could see if you have a dental technician understanding this process, and if you know how to do surgery, if you know how to do prosthetics, this is repeatable. So if you have your mind to try it out, just please go ahead, and I'm pretty sure that you will be successful. Okay, so thank you very much for being with me today. I hope you liked my presentation, and thank you for the opportunity for Ostam On Demand again. It was a great pleasure for me, and I hope we will meet in the future as well, here or on any other platform or occasion. Thank you very much, and goodbye for everyone.